Hello, beautiful soul. So you're getting this fantastic uh screen of today's little live. I wanted to do a little Bible study because I've been working on a field guide or a book for spiritual growth and those that are looking to really cultivate their soul and grow the good vibes. I'm still kind of debating on the style. I kind of like I like a little messy. I like a little collage. I like botanic illustrations, and I think I would love to make a whole bunch for this, but we will see because, timing wise, but this is in the works and I'm really enjoying it. But I decided, like, why not have a little Bible study and we can kind of take our time with exploring that. So I'm pretty excited. I feel like I've said this like a couple of times by this point, so I'm serious. I'm seriously excited about this, guys. It's pretty exciting, and I want to take a little bit of time to just thank God for giving the space to dive a little bit more deeply into His Word and to explore the Bible with newfound eyes and hopefully gain some deeper understanding from it. Alright. Okie dokie. I think we're on our way. So I'm going to be going ahead and using Milanote, which I've been really loving to kind of capture some of what we have here. And I'm just going to go ahead, and I think I'm going to have to make like a whole new board because I want to really capture just some verses that... So if you've been following me, you know that I've been sharing on YouTube my spiritual gardening series. It's been pretty fun and I've loved it a lot. But now I am mentally feeling like, okay, I gotta focus on that other part of it, which is the more biblical side. So Milanote, really, a quick side note, it's pretty cool. You have all of these templates if you wanted to. I don't think I'm really gonna use any of these, but I think it's really cool, and there's a whole bunch of other templates. If they had something just for Bible verses, but a lot of these are like software development, UI, UX, logo design, lifestyle, interior design, film, and we don't really need all of that. We're just gonna be using a good old fashioned I think document. This one's gonna be fun. Okay, so here's a document. We're gonna take a moment to actually go to the Bible app, which hopefully I'm not too far. Sweet. So I'm in John 12, and we were looking over this a little bit on Sunday, and I found some parts pretty interesting, so I wanted to share it with you. Alright, so in this chapter, 6 days before Passover came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. So he already raised somebody from the dead at this point, which is foreshadowing for what he's about to do. And then, so I'll read verse 2. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. And he rose from the dead, which is crazy. I mean, I can only imagine. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. Then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the bag and bare what was put therein. He's a treasurer, but because he was a thief and had the bag and bare what was put in therein, so Jesus said, let her alone. Against the day of my burying has she kept this. For the poor always ye have with you, but me ye shall not always have. Oh gosh, I already remember. What's up, Julio Gomez? Oh, snap. Houston, Texas. Be safe out there, fam. I heard some things in Texas going crazy. So this first part of John 12 is going into Jesus understands that the day is coming. Mary, which I think they use a lot for just a woman's name, when recounting the women that Jesus was with. She had a very costly, very expensive ointments and anointed Jesus's feet. And this is actually not the only time that a woman anoints Jesus with very costly ointment. Yeah, this is not. So you can kind of see and hear why Judas might want to betray Jesus, right? He's kind of like, why didn't we sell this and give it to the poor? He didn't really care for the poor, but he kept the money, and again, the love of money is the root of all evil, and we see this in really simple terms when it comes to Jesus's disciple Judas, which is also runs parallel with Satan being a very high, mighty angel that God gave dominion over much, just like Jesus gave Judas dominion over all the funds that they had. How's it going, Grand Strategist? Raymond, much love. Final countdown. And, very cool. I don't know if I should I look that up right? Alt Waba 34. Please give more information about that. I'm so curious. I'm going to continue before I get too sidetracked, but I'll note that to come back and hopefully if I have time at the end. So thank you. Final countdown. Alright, so this is building up. This is showing internally what's happening with the flesh and the spirit when we are talking about, have you ever had something really nice and you keep it in an area that is just, you never use it? It's closed off. You literally keep it there. It could be a designer bag or a pair of shoes or even a really nice car. I've seen people do this with all types of items. They don't use it, but like psychologically, physically, to possess that, they don't realize that it's possessing them. They're not even using it because they're nervous of ruining it, or decreasing its value. And so in this case, Mary is anointing the feet of Jesus and wiping this ointment, which and now everybody can smell the ointment. It is no longer something that can be sold. It's something that's being used, and when it is being used, when something's being used, it's becoming alive. It's being experienced with life. So I absolutely think that the Quran, studying that is a good idea, and I definitely am excited to jump into my religious text binge. But yeah, so that's the first part. I haven't even really touched upon the point that I'm here yet, because in this chapter we're going to see that Jesus realizes that the time has come. So this is just running the theme that first we see that already kind of the clash of the love of money versus the love of life, you could almost say, because sin equals death. And if you do not love life, then what you doing out here? Okay, so they knew Jesus was there, in verse 9. And they also wanted to see Lazarus because he was raised from the dead. But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death, because they're like, we can't have all this chaos in our orderly world that we are in control of. Because by that reason of him, many of the Jews went away and believed on Jesus. So they were converting, and they were making their sect, their following a lot smaller. So now people are like, whoa, Jesus rose somebody from the dead. This is starting to get out there. So this is also, I think, Palm Sunday. They took branches of the palm trees, went forth to meet him, cried, Hosanna, blessed is the King of Israel that cometh in the name of the Lord. Ooh. Huh. Okay. Jesus, when he had found he rode the donkey. So he is definitely not showing the flesh what we would say victorious king is. He's on a small donkey. He's riding, and people are praising him, again in the spirit more so than in the flesh. These things understood not his disciples, because he said, fear not, O Sion, behold, thy king cometh, sitting on an ass colt. Again, this is like more symbolic of the spiritual power that Jesus has, even though it seems silly to the flesh. Much love, Julio. So they didn't understand what he was saying, but when Jesus was glorified, then remembered they that these things were written of him, and that they had done these things unto him. So they're reflecting back. Of course, this book was written after So he called Lazarus out of the grave, raised him from the dead, bear record. For this cause the people also met him, for they heard that he had done the miracle. The Pharisees said among themselves, perceive ye how ye prevail nothing? Behold, the world is gone after him. So they're getting, again with the flesh, they're seeing how the world is, everybody is following him. And again, their focus is on the world. Not so much maybe the souls of the people, but the souls are drawing the flesh closer to Jesus. And so here's where the interesting part happens. And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast. The same came therefore to Philip, which was of Bethsaida of Galilee, and desired him, saying, Sir, we would see Jesus. So Philip came and told Andrew, and again Andrew and Philip tell Jesus. So at this point, Jesus was, going to the Jews. So this was more of an internal cultural thing. Right? So Ken, right? At the thought, in the beginning, Yeshua was every day. Jesus does share a verse where a prophet cannot prophesy in his own homeland. He has to leave it. And I think that's so true, especially if you want to do anything, if you're sharing your voice, your truth. A lot of the times, if you're sharing it to just your friends and families, you'll notice that they just won't take you seriously because the context in which they know you has already been built up. And so that's important to note, that this is the hour when Yeshua becomes Jesus, you could say. This is the hour when this man truly is seen for what he is, which is, God's son. So when the Greeks came, very interestingly enough, they want to see him. This is the first time where we're noting someone who is not a Pharisee or coming from a Jewish cultural origin is seeking Jesus. And so this is why it's so significant. Jesus answered them saying, "The hour is come, that the Son of Man should be glorified. Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a corn of wheat fall into the ground and die, it abideth alone. But if it die, it brings forth much fruit." Gonna take a pause before we go any further, because I think that's really interesting. And whenever I see corn in the Bible, I see ear of corn, it's just like, listen. It reminds me to listen a little bit deeper and see the kernels of wisdom, of truth that are being said. So Jesus is acknowledging that now that others are actively seeking him, he has he's reached virality on the earth at this time. If you want to put it into modern day terms, the truth is spreading. People are actively seeking him. People from other cultures, other backgrounds, not just the Jews at this time. And that's why he says the hour has come. Because now it's no longer going to be, you could say, almost suppressed or snuffed out by the Pharisees of this time under one religion. This is when it starts to branch out and become its own, because other cultures are seeking it. It's so significant. It is so significant. And so God knows, Jesus knows this, and he's like, the hour has come that the Son of Man should be glorified. So now he's talking about his death, which he knows is inevitable. He knows that this virality is going to lead to his downfall, but he needs to get the word out there. He needs to spread the seeds of the truth, of God's love, of the message that the Creator is in all of us, that we were given so much love, and that through faith and through cultivating the spirit that God has given us, and realizing that all these pieces allow us to be whole and allow the Holy Ghost to flow more smoothly in our own vessel. It's really beautiful, but he knows that it's going to require his life. And he says, "He that loves his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it until life eternal." So Jesus loved his life. We kind of get the gist when he's crying tears of blood and begging God, for a way out of the crucifixion. But he that loves life loses it, because do you really want to keep your life in this world eternally? Oh my gosh. I don't think so. Yeah, Grand Strategist, definitely. I think it's very interesting that you'll see it's always been a lot of you could say, bad religious leaders, just like the Pharisees, which are like the whole Bible is an example, right? It's an example for us to learn from and better understand our role as humans and our relationship with God and creation. So, amen, Julio. So, okay. I think this is so important, and I think about it a lot when it comes to spiritual gardening and what that means. The idea that you have a fruit, and that fruit has the seeds. And, the fruit may be beautiful on the branch, but eventually knowing when to pick it, because it can stay on the branch too long. You can become vain with it, admire its beauty, but not actually use it, and so it spoils. But even in that, there's life. So I just found this so interesting. I'm opening up the floor. If you have anything to say on he that loves his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. Like, that sucks. Okay. If any man serve me, let him follow me, Jesus says. And where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor. Now is my soul troubled. And what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. But for this cause come I unto this hour. Father, glorify thy name. Ooh, I'm feeling chills. Like, the fact that Jesus is acknowledging that he is going to die because he loves his life so much that God gave him. He loves it so much and is sharing so much of God's love that, with every reaction there's an equal and opposite reaction. He knew that all of the life that he was giving so abundantly was going to come back in a way that he would have to embrace and accept so fully that it would not only, like a wormhole, it would not only pardon his death because he was blameless, but also ours. I'm still mind blown, and I'm still like it. Whew. Okay. Yeah. Whew. So I think that it's important to acknowledge that everybody's relationship with God is different, and their understanding of Jesus is different, and I think it's beautiful and a part of the beauty. But in this hour, you can just see Jesus as a man that's realizing, like, oh wow, this is what I'm here to do, and it's about time. The hour is coming, and it's inevitable, and you can almost feel like the fear, oh, my soul is troubled, and what can I say? Just like giving it up to you, God. That is wow. So, and then there's a voice from heaven saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. God's like, I got you, homie. And the people that stood by and heard it said that it thundered. And others said, an angel spake to him. So everybody knows something divine is happening. Like, imagine you have, like, these Greek dudes come in and they're like, yo, we want to see Lazarus. We want to see this man called Jesus. And then his disciples are like, let's see if that's okay. Because, again, this was at a time where this was kind of like in this bubble culturally to the Hebrews. Now it's like, oh, okay. And as soon as another group asks, like, God starts talking back to Jesus, like, I don't know about you, homie, but I'd be like, what is going on? Judas, are you paying attention? Alright, so, wow. So he said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. So Jesus is like, God wanted y'all to witness what's going down. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And I, if I be lifted up from earth, will draw all men unto me. So again, he's not, when he's lifted up from earth, obviously, we talking about the spiritual, right? So the flesh is being shed because the flesh is heavy. I was thinking about what gravity is, and I still don't have a full... I think gravity has to do with time and matter and the gluons and the attraction, the electromagnetic pull that we have to the earth. So many things. But yeah, the flesh, keeping it simple right now. He shed the flesh. When he is lifted up from earth, he will draw men to him. Okay, you guys can't really see that color that well, so let's try one. Okay, so he's taking all his homies in the spirit and drawing it up. Crazy. And again, the fact that Jesus is having a conversation and he's like, oh my gosh, the hour has come. Oh God, I'm terrified, but I know, like, God, glory be to your name. And God's like, I got you, homie. Glory is being to my name. And everybody's like, what the heck is going on? I'm sure the Greek dudes were like, what is going on, actually? And you know what? They're going to go and they're going to tell their homies, and the word is going to continue to spread. Because how could you not share the miracles that are unfolding and the glory that is God? So, alright. And the fact that in that moment right now, that's the judgment of the world. The prince of this world be cast out. Now, I feel like I gotta deep dive a little bit more in the prince of the world, because I'm thinking about a couple of princes to the world, but you know, I think we can all say that there was one fallen angel that I believe was like a prince and kind of like ruled over the world in not the best way, and that one's kind of coming to mind. So Grand Strategist, I actually have been, I don't know, like mostly just Bible study and reflecting. I haven't really watched as many, but I found this really exciting to just like make a video and connect, and that's exciting that we're on the same wavelength, exploring this beautiful stuff. So okay, alright, so then Jesus said, signifying what death he should die. So the people answered him, we have heard out of the law that Christ abides forever. And how sayest thou the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? Jesus said, yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while ye have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walks in darkness know not whither he goeth. While ye have light, believe in the light. Ye may be children of the light. Okay, so I think that's a good place to close this, because there is, of course, a little bit more I want to take, but I think it's important to acknowledge that if people are asking, you know, how can, you know, the law, Christ lives forever, so how can you say he's lifting up, who's the Son of Man? I just find it so beautiful how in my own life I'm noticing, and maybe you can relate, that I'm at a chapter where there is a lot of light being shown on projects and experiences, and I feel the light with me. And I also acknowledge that there will be a period of darkness. It's almost like preparation. You were given a match, and there are some items around to make a candle. but you have to move wisely in order to find those items, the wick and the oil, and to put them together so that your light may sustain you and it may continue to grow steadily. And so that's really what comes up, and I think it's very much also like a seed. Walk while ye have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goeth. While ye have light, believe in the light, that ye may be children of the light. Because God wants to enlighten you on these things, and I think you should act with that understanding and clarity and enlightenment that there is a time and a place for everything under the sun. And when you have that idea, that is in fact a light, because of the neuron sensors that are firing off. Because of that light, you're allowing yourself to first off think, and that in itself is like light. Just your thoughts are light. And because they're literally saying walk while you have the light, walk while the idea resonates, while you're clear on the direction to go, while the picture in your head is still there and you can see it move. Because have you ever thought, oh, I'm gonna do that after, but you've like had the initial thought like, I'm gonna do that, or I should do this, something reminds you of it. That's when you should do it, always. And yeah, yeah. And I do believe the more that you have the light, believe in it. So the more that you have these ideas, the sparks in your brain that allow you to gain that enlightenment, that understanding, the more that you lean into creating the habit of, okay, there's that idea, it makes sense, it's clear, it's bringing me, it's aligned, and you take action, the more that you birth more light. So, yeah. Okay. So, Kin199, do I relate to the Horus Heru story about the Black Madonna in any way to the Jesus story? Again, I feel like I gotta do my research, guys. It's been a while. I've really been pretty absent, and Bible studies are the main thing. Like, I just been reading the boring old Bible, and then just looking at plants these days, guys. It's been a little crazy, but I definitely am looking forward to diving a little deeper and looking into this Madonna story. Okay, so then Jesus is just sharing, like, I'm saying this on behalf of God. Like, I am literally speaking what God has given me to say. Okay, so I feel like I should finish. So Jesus was speaking, departed. He did so many miracles that but they still didn't believe him. That's the crazy thing. That the saying of Esaias the prophet might be fulfilled, which he spake, Lord, who has believed our report, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? Therefore they could not believe, because that Esaias said again, He has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, that they should not see with their eyes nor understand with their heart, and be converted, and I should heal them. These things said Esaias when he saw his glory, and spake of him. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue, for they loved the praises of men more than the praise of God. And that hardened their hearts from accepting it, because pride does this thing. It gets all crusty. It gets you hotter, all crusty, because pride is fiery, and it can really burn and make something quite hard. Oh, yeah, so the Galactic Federation, yes, I think the Galactic Federation is tied to angels and many of the other unseen creatures of this earth. But yeah, that's. I'm learning a lot more, though. Reading the Bible kind of has helped make more sense. So. Oh, you went to a Christian school? That's pretty cool, Raymond. Okay. So now I want to read, I believe it's Matthew 12 or 15. Okay. Yeah. And yes, this was John 12, so feel free to read. Continue to read. It's pretty cool. And shout out my mom because she's been working on a book. And it's pretty cool, so yay. Yeah, definitely check that out. Okay. Okay, it's not Matthew. I think it's Matthew 5. Awkward. Oh. Okay, but Matthew 5 is actually quite good. Ooh. You know, oh, Matthew is like my favorite chapter. I'm not gonna lie, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. I love Matthew, but okay. That is so awkward. Is it Matthew 12? No. It's Matthew 13. We went all the way around, and I find this very, very fun. Very funny that we went all the way around. Okay. But yeah, we're here in Matthew 13, and some of you guys might know this is Parables of the Sower, and I did share this on my spiritual gardening series because it is one of my favorite parables. Of course I'm going to share it with you guys because why not? So, okay, Jesus is talking to a great multitude. I believe this is around the time when they also do a lot of miracles with the bread, the loaves, and the fish. No, but yeah, this one is beautiful because it is a parable, and I feel like there's so much wisdom, and this really inspired the series. So, and he spake many things unto them in parables, saying, Behold, the sower went forth to sow, and when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell among stony places where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. And some fell amongst thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked them. But others fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100, some 60, some 30. Who has ears to hear, let him hear. So, I think you might remember when I mentioned in John 12 about Jesus sharing that when the hour has come and he knows that it's about his time is almost up, and he shares the kind of parable of the corn that it has to die in order to produce more. It has to fall down in order for it to bring forth more life. And whenever I see corn, whenever I see anything with hearing, I always think of corn, which again it's yellow, and it reminds me of the solar plexus, and it reminds me of the ego, and it reminds me of the things that we value and what we see and pay attention to. So all of these things. So then the disciples come and they say, Why speakest thou to them in parables? He answered and said, Because it's given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it's not given. For whosoever has, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance, but whoever has not, from him shall it be taken away, even that he has. Therefore I speak to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing, they hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Esaias, which said, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. For this people's heart is waxed gross. So this is the hardened heart, and that's what we saw in John 12, when Esaias was pretty much sharing, people's hearts are going to be stony, and they love praises of men more than of God, and that ego was the reason that I got so stony and hard. You have to humble yourself and actually go low to the ground in order to soften the heart. You have to kind of almost till yourself, which requires some breaking and some sense of humility, which again means to be low to the ground so that you can be soft and more receptive. And so, at least at any time, they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears and should understand with their heart and should be converted, and I should heal them. Blessed are your eyes. I mean, like, if you heard that parable, would you understand what it was back then? Maybe only the ones that God opens their eyes. So, for verily, verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. And I feel so thankful to God for the things that I've seen and the experiences I've had, and you know, like, life is crazy. Okay, so definitely prefer Esther. Just gonna be clear with that. Thank you, Negan. So, hear therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and understand it not, then comes the wicked one and catch away which was sown in his heart. This is he which receives seed by the wayside. So, they receive seed by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured him. So fowls are very symbolic. When you see the Bible and I see it, or even now with spiritual gardening, and I think in real life, because I do believe birds are government spies, and they're not government for like the human government, but they're government for like God, if that makes sense. They're literal angels, and oh man, they're so intelligent. But of course, a little personal story, they were crows. These crows, I remember one day I decided to practice my crow dialect, and was like, alright, it was something like that. I'm a little rusty because I haven't practiced. But what happened was, the crows heard me because I was talking to the crows. I was talking to the crows, and the crows heard me, and I didn't know what I was saying. I was spitting. I must have insulted their whole family lineage and threatened to murder them, because I probably did make a joke about murder, because, you know, what do you call a group of crows? A murder. You literally call a group of crows a murder, and now I know why. So, you guys know I grow grass. And we grow a lot of grass. And I probably have pictures, but for the sake of time, we grow about 2,000 to 3,000 pots of grass for this golf course. These are native grasses. They're very beautiful and big, and one's called broom sedge, and traditionally it was used to make brooms. Anyways, so when they're babies, we transplant the babies. Think about it. Transplanting 28,000 baby plants, putting them in pots. I'm talking to the crows. I'm joking about the next day, they plucked the grasses out of the pots. The little baby grasses that we transplanted, they pulled them out. They literally murdered the grass. I think we lost about 80. And every day we'd have to go and we'd have to put them back in their pots before they dried up and died. Every day. For a month. So I don't talk to the crows anymore, but I now understand that they are, of course, very, very, very smart. And it's not just about the birds. You know, any word you say, you are a bird when you're talking. I'm technically a bird. I'm singing a song. I'm sharing information with you. And I could say that technology is helping with the transportation of it. You know, carrier pigeons, message doves. Those are all like things. And so birds play a role when it comes to the communication of what we receive, what is being told to us. And so when you hear something and it is the truth, and he's saying, you know, those that receive the seed by the wayside, they don't understand, and because they're not really protecting their heart, and they're not guarding the valuable information because they don't understand it, here comes a chatterbox that will tell otherwise. And this is really a distraction. Because you're on the wayside, this is a literal, like, you don't have a real direction. You're not even in a lane. You're just on the side of the road, kind of thinking, maybe I should go this way, but I'm not really sure. And it's very easy for you to become distracted. So this is for those souls of us, and those times where we may find that the truth is there, something really resonates, but we're not really, again, walking in the light as directly as we should. Okay. Alright, I'm not gonna make a horse sound. It's not my specialty. I'm more crazy bird lady. Try to communicate with the birds. So far, the crow situation was not ideal, so I took a break. So he receives the seed into the stony places, the same as he that hears a word and anon with joy receive it. Yet he has not root in himself, but dureth for a little while. For when tribulation or persecution arise because of the word, by and by he is offended. You remember what we said about in Mark 12 again, about the man that prefers praises from man versus praises of God. So when you, and this is so, especially in modern day, like let's say Megan just mentioned YouTubers. I think that there's a lot there, but really a narcissist is infected with a hard heart where they're not actually accepting their own, they're not rooted in themselves, and so they need other things because they're not rooted in themselves. They literally have no roots. They must go look for other forms of sustenance. So Jesus is saying, like, God comes to you, you're given the glory, you receive it, you experience it, and you're happy and you know it. And this is what happened to the dudes that were connected with the Pharisees. Like, they knew that Jesus was true, but they literally didn't have enough self-confidence. They weren't grounded enough in themselves. And when it comes to spiritual gardening, this is like why we need to be humble and why we need to literally till our spiritual fields. We need to test it. We need to allow ourselves to move pieces where they might not actually be. We need to humble ourselves before God and say, you know, this is what I thought perfection looked like, but this actually might not be it. We need to release that control, because the more we try to control, the stonier, the harder it becomes. And so it does take that humility to realize that you don't know everything, you don't know what you're really doing. Okay, you're here, you're alive, and you've learned everything that you know. But it's so important to till that stony heart, because that's where you find roots. Those are where you find the roots in understanding the spirit that God gave you. It is so humbling to realize that you're just a human being, and there are so many beings out there. Look at the grass. You'll find like 50. There's so many beings out there, and so many galactic galaxies, stars, intelligent life forms that we don't even know about. And you're just a human in all of this. You're just one person on one planet for this one moment. And you don't have to have it all figured out. I don't know. It just, really softens the heart. I think it helps with compassion as well, you know. I think in this day and age we can be really hard on ourselves, and again, it is a disease to have shallow roots. When you have rooted yourself in the flesh, which is always fleeting, you can never ground yourself into the soul, which is sovereign, it's solid. And so I'm learning how important it is that, again, you might see like a dandelion or a flower, something pop up in between a sidewalk, and when you really think about it, first of all, people that are in the paving industry don't like that because it's going to actually break the concrete little by little. And that's what having solid roots literally does, that a flower can break the concrete because it is rooted in something that is deeper than that. That felt really good. Okay. Alright, so in black I have he also that received this seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word. And the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becomes unfruitful. So the world chokes the word. Okay, so now he's talking about the thorns, and I think this one is one most common, and I say this because I see this. I see this in real life with the multiflora rose. You know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, it is native to Asia, and it is a beautiful rose bush, which is absolutely resilient and is everywhere in the Americas and really the world, honestly. What I find really interesting about this plant, my coworker thought, okay, we have a lot of it, we pull it. Do you think it's fun to pull thorny vines? No, it's not. But, you know, when you cut it, she cut it, and then we realized that all of the cuttings, all of the tiny pieces took root and grew many little plants that grew for a whole year before we realized, and we had to go back and clear that out. It was one thing to clear out all of these thorns. It's another thing to clear out a whole, like 30 times the amount because of understanding. So what is this? These are distractions. There are a lot of distractions in the world. And how do you tell if it's a distraction? If it mentions... I gotta be careful about how I use my words right now. If it emphasizes the importance of physical possessions, that is a distraction. Okay, wherever you put your energy, that's going to assist in the manifestation and building it up. Wherever you put your energy. So, of course, the world wants you to put your energy into it so it can build itself up, it can grow more, but that is just a tactic for it to grow. In reality, you can trust, and you already know there's a verse saying, I provide for the birds, the fowls of the air, how much more will I take care of you? Like, God's got you. Because, I'm not even gonna jump in. I'm not gonna say nothing, period. God's got you. Anyways, so the thorns are really interesting. We see those, and it's hard. When it starts to grow, it's really hard to remove a thorn. It's, how many thorns in your side do you have? Again, these are things that are kind of superficial, but they push this urgency that makes them feel like they're more than that. And this is the deceitfulness of riches. So important to untie any goals you have around money and go deeper than that to, again, root it in your own soul, in your being, so that it can actually be fruitful and flourish. But you know what you're going to spend that money on when the time comes and God gives you money. You know, I'm going to spend this on creating 500 homes for homeless veterans and abused teenagers so that they can reconnect with nature and learn from this. Right? Like, you want to be so specific. Because the deceitfulness of riches, like a get rich quick. I almost fell for one, honestly. I was like, ooh, free book? Maybe I need it. But it was all about, like, real estate investment. I think it was cool, but at the same time, it was not really necessary for my mission. And a part of me was just like, well, maybe. But I know that part was just a scarcity mindset. It was the thorn in my side of the fear and the deceitfulness of riches, quite literally. And so that can choke the word. And I've seen it happen. I've literally seen these rose bushes. They grow probably 15 times as fast as a normal plant. What's good? Lego my ego. I want you to imagine you planted something, and then a little birdie drops a little tiny seed. In 1 month, that tiny seed becomes a small plant with 4 branches, while your seed is still in the ground and still unseen. You can't even see anything. In 2 months, that 4-branched seed that was dropped next to yours has now, its roots are touching the small roots of your small seed, which is just pushing out of the ground. It now already has leaves, and its branches of 4 have turned into 8. 3rd month rolls in, and the 8 branches of that now very thorny plant has turned into 64 branches. And there are a lot more thorns. And it's so leafy and thick that your small plant, your small seed, which has 2 cotyledons like this, it just started like showing green. So that is how fast the deceitfulness of riches can choke the word. And how easy is it to rip it out while it snip it in the bud? Literally snip it in the rosebud. Snip it in the bud. And I've been practicing this very, very hard. Like, oh my ego, I got a lot on my mind, but I'm actually getting excited and sad that we're getting close to the 10-minute mark left. I have to realize that I'm now challenging myself this month to talk about and with people positively, because I realize that these rosebuds, they start very small. They start in those everyday conversations and those little tiny thoughts, and they can quickly snowball. So I'm really thankful to acknowledge how important it is to nurture the word, the living word that God has given you, because your words are magical. They literally send vibrations through time and space. They build pictures for people to see things that have happened in another place. Like right now we get to read this, and it's incredible. So, but he that receives seed into the good ground is he that hears the word and understands it, which also bears fruit and brings forth some 100, some 60, some 30, and even those numbers are quite divine when you think about Fibonacci sequence or okay, all right. So then Jesus goes on and he shares another parable, because now he's going deeper into the kingdom of heaven. First he talked about the seed, now he's talking about what the seed represent like another perspective. He's saying the kingdom of heaven is like a man which sowed good seed in the field, but while man slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat. And so I talked about this, and I believe it was episode 3 of Spiritual Gardening with Weeding. So if you want to see that goes a little bit more in depth, or I think it's episode 4 of sowing and reaping, because in this parable, and I'm gonna, for the sake of time, the enemy puts weeds in the master's field of wheat. The master's servants are like, yo, why did you plant weeds? And the master's like, no. And they're like, why are there weeds in the field of wheat? And they're like, should we cut them? And the master's like, no, wait, just wait, because if you cut them right now, if you pull them out right now, they're going to disturb all the wheat. They're going to make them willy wonky, and their roots are already intermingled. So again, you think about that rosebud from earlier, and you see the connections of how things grow. And so he said, wait until the time of harvest, and then we'll gather up first the weeds, and we'll burn them, and then the wheat. And even the order in which things are done is pretty significant. You have to nip the things in the bud, and you have to clear them out, knowing when is an appropriate time, knowing when you are in the light. So that is what. Okay, Julia, I hope you're happy. I was like, I don't know if I should. I don't think YOLO. So I think that's really beautiful. That's the last reflection on waiting until it's time. You may feel like, oh man, there's like a lot of, not so good things happening, and there's also some really good things that I want more of to happen. And you may feel, especially in this day and age, like you have to rush. But you cannot rush a plant to grow any faster than it naturally does. And the same goes for anything that you're creating here on Earth. You have to allow the seasons to come when they do, and move with the season. Walk in the light when you have it. Right now is the summer here on this side of the hemisphere. Use the extra daylight and do what you can, because when the winter comes, that is not the time to be walking. That is the time to be sitting down, my friend. And the thunder hit. I think that's God saying, all right, Esther, it's time to walk in the light while you can, because it goes like a flash. And yeah, there's so many, Jesus saying, I come like as a thief in the night. You think anybody's expecting a thief in the night? I mean, these days, yes. That's why we lock our doors, right? We're like, nah, not today, Satan. Sorry for yelling. But so the wheat and the tares grow together, and that is why evil is allowed to remain in the world for now. Absolutely, we practice. It's not the time to take them out. It's the time to watch and grow. Seed and sow, okay? We gotta do what we can do. And in this season specifically, it's time to water. So water your words, water your space, and weed it out. Yeah, of course, where you have things growing, don't really worry about it. Don't even really worry about it. Clear out the space that you can. Cleanse what you can. Okay, so there's another one, right? The mustard seed. The kingdom of heaven, and we already know mustard seed equals faith. So the first one, God is saying, all right, so the seeds are sown, and now people are wondering, like, when are we going to get what's coming? And so then he shares the tares, and then the mustard seed is all about faith. Kingdom of heaven is like to a grain of a mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds, but when it is grown, it is the greatest among herbs, and becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge on the branches thereof. And what did we say the birds of the air are? we had a whole little conversation about the birds of the air being that communicative spirit, the realm of communication that happens between the flesh, here and there, the flesh and the spirit. And the way that birds, I see them as government spies for different galactic federations of their lineage that are, of course, connected to God. The birds of the air lodge on the branches of the mustard seed, and the mustard seed represents your faith. Your faith that you can grow and you have within you, and God gave you perfection, the kingdom of heaven, a divine mission. And when you have faith and nourish that very small seed, just paying attention to it and sowing it in your field, now as it grows, the birds begin to lodge on it. And they take the faith, and mustard, again, what color is it, my friends? We're really talking a lot about yellow today, solar plexus. I'm doing like belly rounds because I feel it. I feel energetically, and I had to do that, okay, because, the energy is awake. But the power that taking action with faith has, people start to share the word. They have faith in you and what you are here to do, and they start spreading the word. And so, even though it is the least of all seeds, because it doesn't take much to have faith in yourself, right? Or does it? The least of all seeds doesn't. And when it's grown, it's the greatest among herbs. I mean, who doesn't love mustard? My sister was going on about this Dijon mustard that apparently rappers are rapping about, and I find that very funny, but again, maybe a biblical analogy to faith in some weird way. Yeah. So I appreciate you for joining this Bible study, and I want to take a moment to finish the last bit, which said, the last one, the kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. Where my sourdough moms at? Where are my sourdough moms at? That's all I'm gonna say there. Like, again, thank you. I'll leave that. I pray that we can build faith in the word which God has told us individually, within our hearts, within our souls, that rings throughout our bodies and our minds. I have faith that we will work in the light, we will walk in it, we will be diligent with the time that we are given, so that our spiritual garden may grow abundantly in all of the good fruits of the Spirit. Amen. Okay. Yes. So, I'm gonna answer it. Megan, I think the most important is, are they testing the Spirit are they professing that Jesus, like God, is within all beings and just bringing glory to God? Or are they bringing glory to themselves? That's pretty much it. Like, at the end of the day, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that God is amazing. God is so good, and it's crazy how much information we have out there. It can be extremely distracting. I think that's why I feel so thankful to take some steps back, and I realized that low-key, I was spending maybe a bit too much time on my phone, and there's, some books I want to read and some things I want to do, and I'm really thankful that we had this time, because honestly, this was something that I've been wanting to do for a very long while, and I appreciate you for keeping me accountable to do this, which was just have a Bible study about spiritual growth and spiritual gardening. Especially, as you know, we flesh out this book, this field guide about spiritual gardening. So I'm looking forward to that. If you are interested, please feel free to let me know by just being like, I like gardening, just let me know. I would say that there's a lot of beautiful things that I'm learning, and a lot of the questions that I have been asking myself, I immediately find the answer when I sit in silence. And I feel really thankful for taking that time to sit in silence. So I'm going to take one breath with you as we set the intention, the energy that we're taking with us. Thank you so much for taking this time with me to explore spiritual growth through the Bible, and I hope that you are inspired to A, do a little Bible studying yourself, B, build that relationship with God, and C, explore what your spiritual garden looks like. What does that garden within your own heart look like? What emotions, or I like to call them fruits of the Spirit, because there are a lot of fruits out there that are within the heart space, and you can feel them, so explore feeling them. Maybe I'll do a meditation on that. Definitely, I'm just thankful to explore and express this with you guys more as I dive into learning and understanding and exploring the world of spiritual gardening, which, by the way, I kind of just made up the name, and I'm not really seeing much on it. I see more on spiritual cultivation, which is similar. Honestly, it's like the same thing, right? I just prefer spiritual gardening. I think there's a lot more names. So if you know more names for just this practice of spiritual cultivation, spiritual gardening, whatever you like to call it, let me know. Alright, God bless. Namaste. Okay, I need to drive. Alright, that was good. Oh gosh.